We've got a state of emergency in Kingston, Ontario. Yes, you heard it right. We're going to talk about this. In Kingston, Ontario, there's a state of emergency that's been declared primarily on food insecurity.
This week, Kingston became the third Ontario municipality to declare food insecurity an emergency, and its council is calling on the province to help.
As some of you guys may know, I actually live in Kingston, Ontario, so I'm going to give you a bit of an insider's view into what we're seeing right here. So what are we seeing right now in Kingston, Ontario? We are seeing a mass number of Kingstonians that have what is referred to as food insecurity. They are needing to go to food banks just to survive.
Kingston is home to hospitals, post-secondary institutions, and plenty of federal jobs. But even with that broad economic base, public health officials here say roughly 1 in 3 households is living with food insecurity.
So what is Kingston asking for by stating that it's in a state of emergency? The motion that they have passed is called specifically for the provincial government to raise social assistance to meet basic needs. They've asked the federal government as well to establish a guaranteed basic livable income. Hey, that sounds amazing for the people that cannot afford to feed themselves. It sounds like a wonderful idea. Is that a long-term solution? Absolutely not. That will not work in the long term. Now, who are these people that are suffering? And let's go into this a little bit more. Why are there so many people in Kingston that are suffering? What are they talking about when they point to this state of emergency? It is what looks like everyday Kingstonians that are instead at home struggling, that don't have food. Maybe are trying to figure out, do I pay the phone bill this month? Do I pay the electricity this month? Do I pay, and juggling those kind of bills? Some people might say it this way: people sitting in their homes in quiet desperation. First of all, just so you know, in Kingston, the demographics play a huge amount to what we're talking about here. For starters, 21% of the population in Kingston, Ontario is 65 years or older. A large number of retirees live in Kingston. Now, here's another piece. Since COVID, we saw a huge influx of immigrant students come to Kingston. There is such a large immigrant population that have started going to school here in Kingston. A lot of these students are coming without a lot of money. They're taking jobs at gas stations, at every restaurant, coffee shop, you name it. They have picked up any types of part-time jobs to try to be able to afford. They're living here. Remember that immigrant students, these international students, are actually paying triple, quadruple what Canadian students are paying for schooling. And then they're paying higher rates for rental than the average. So a lot of these students are going to also be into those categories of needing food because they can't afford it. They come here on their last dime and doing everything they can to try to get an education. Now, are there those that are taking advantage of the system? I'm sure there are. In every case, there are always people that try to take advantage. But there are going to be many and many of those students that are willing to work hard and they still can't afford to feed themselves. So there's a category there. You've got the retirees, you've got these international students, and then you've got 14% of the population that are under the age of 15. So you've got a huge chunk, almost 40% of Kingston in these brackets. Really, they're unemployable. So we know what they're asking for. We know who's suffering. What's some of the impacts of this on real estate in Kingston? First of all, an increased demand for affordable homes. More and more people are going to be looking for affordable housing in Kingston as a result, because they can't afford what they're looking at right now. Now, policy and zoning changes. It would not be unheard of to see the city start approving more zoning for affordable housing. What does that mean? It means developers get to come in and potentially build more. Does that save anybody right here, right now? It does not. But it does mean that we could get a jump start on building more affordable homes, building more multi-family residential buildings, any of these types of possibilities for real estate here in Kingston. The city really needs to look into other measures for how to help senior citizens, how to create more jobs, to create more competition. Right now, the provincial and federal government already subsidize Kingston heavily by having so many government jobs. We've got the Canadian Forces Base. We've got multiple prisons in Kingston. We've got multiple hospitals in Kingston, clinics. There is an abundance of government jobs in Kingston. The government does have a huge presence in Kingston. So the city really needs to get into how do we attract more businesses here so that people in Kingston have the ability to make more money, a competitive wage, because people in Kingston, not counting government workers, if you take the government workers out of the equation, by and large, Kingstonians live below the national average the moment you take out all of the government workers. Do I think this is the solution? A basic livable income? Maybe in the short term, until we get rid of the current government and start addressing the needs of this city, this province, the country as a whole, so that we can lower inflation and really be able to have people have their dollar go further. Oh my goodness. Well, guys, I don't know what city, what town's going to declare a state of emergency next. We're looking forward to seeing you guys again next week on the Four Horsemen of Real Estate Podcast.
They walk the talk in the world of investment. They make their mark.